You know, we're always eager to get questions on the show concerning things we've talked about or any questions anybody has dealing with health, fitness, and wellness. Today's podcast actually comes from a listener question. It is a quick hit dealing with resting heart rate and sleep today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast
with Garrett Williamson.
Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Williamson, president of Personal Edge Fitness, and I'm so glad to have you listening today. And as always, on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast, as with this show, if you have any questions dealing with health, fitness, or wellness, or anything we've talked about on the show before, or especially if you have something that you may think it's a myth, may be just very unclear to you in the world of health, fitness, and wellness, please reach out to us. You can call us at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach out to me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com, which of course is our website, personaledgefitness.com, and our Facebook page, Personal Edge Fitness. Now, this question comes from a listener and client, Erica, asking us about the relationship between resting heart rate and sleep. Now, I've talked a lot about recovery. And there's something I've mentioned on podcasts previously dealing with recovery and the fact that we're doing so much research on recovery, which I think is great. They're working on speeding up recovery. Therefore, that's going to allow us to make improvements much faster in all aspects of health, fitness, and wellness. I think recovery is incredibly important. I'm glad we're spending that kind of time on it. But you can actually improve your own recovery by improving your sleep. Now, what I mean by improving your sleep is not so much increasing the time. Yeah, I do think you ought to get 8 hours. Some people go off of less, some people go off of more, but I'm talking about improving your sleep, and that is the quality of your sleep over quantity. And the way you do that is actually by lowering your resting heart rate. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, I got confused about numbers when I was thinking about this earlier, so I'm just going to make up some numbers on this to make it easy. Let's say that your ultimate resting heart rate, the heart rate that just below this, one bleep below this, you're unconscious, you're subconscious. In other words, you're asleep. Let's make up a number. Let's say that number is 55. Let's say at 55 you're awake, at 54 you're asleep. Now you have that. You actually have a true bottom rate heart rate that just below that you're actually subconscious. We're going to make up that number as 55 today. Below that number you're asleep. And when you sleep, you drop below that number, but the idea is you want to drop far below that number. The depth and how deep you go below that number determines what kind of quality sleep you're going to have, and I'll tell you why. If you've never done this before, track your sleep, and I'll tell you at the end of the podcast how we do this, but you want to track your sleep because you want to find out how many times you're waking up when you're sleeping. I've talked to clients about this before, and they've said, well, yeah, I remember I woke up twice last night, got up a glass of water, went to the restroom, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. Yes, that is awake. But there are many times that you wake up in the middle of the night, you don't even know you're awake. I'm not talking about sleepwalking. Every time you move, you're awake. When you're asleep, you are perfectly still. So you want to attain what people call deep REM sleep. That's what you're looking for. And that's controlled mostly by heart rate. A lot of things can affect your heart rate when you're asleep. Different body functions, digestion, what have you. A dream can affect your sleep. Sounds can still affect your sleep, can wake you up and raise your heart rate. So you'll drop, let's say your number is 55, you drop to 54, and you drop a little lower than that. And I'm doing this like it's on a graph. And what happens is throughout the night, as different functions going on in your body, your heart rate's basically doing this, kind of up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. The thing is that if you fall into a deep sleep and that up and down is really low on the scale, it's way away from that 54, 55 where you wake up, then you're sleeping good. You've got good quality sleep. But if that drop between conscious and subconscious is extremely shallow, in other words, you are subconscious when you drop from 55 to 54, but you only drop as low as 50. Again, I'm just making up these numbers. They mean nothing. Then you're only 5 beats away from being awake. if your resting heart rate is lower, you'll drop even farther. You'll drop, instead of 5 beats, you'll drop 10 beats, 15 beats down from your subconscious level, allowing you to have a deep sleep. And that's why I had a doctor friend of mine that used to tell me that when you get older, you just catnap. That's all there is to it. You don't sleep very well, you catnap. No, actually, this person had a very high resting heart rate. They weren't in shape. They didn't do any kind of exercise, so they just catnapped. They barely slept through the night and did things to compensate that. Well, how do you find out about your sleep? How do you measure your sleep? Well, of course, you can go somewhere. There's a lot of different sleep study clinics. We have those in Mobile. You can go and have a sleep study done that way, but a much easier way of doing it, you can actually do it at home. If you have a smart device, which most likely you do, iWatch or a Garmin watch or a Fitbit of some sort, all of these devices, and there's others I'm sure, will actually measure your sleep. And they're very simple. You can Google about how to do it. If you have any questions about that, you can contact us at 251-278-3343, or you're welcome to contact me at Garrett@personaledgefitness.com. I'll be more than glad to arrange a time to help you, show you how to do that, how to set that up. But what you do is you end up wearing this device at night. At some point in time, you punch a button or touch a screen and start a stopwatch, and it actually measures your movement. It measures your sleep. And so the next morning it'll give you a graph, and it'll show you, you'll shock yourself how many times you're actually waking up, how many times you're getting those little spikes. And if you do measure it, then you can also check your resting heart rate. Easiest way to do that, it's actually easier for a professional to do it when you are sitting still and allow them to check your heart rate. Or you can do it, and I recommend doing it manually, or possibly even a chest strap. Sometimes when your heart rate gets really low, they don't read extremely well. So I recommend typically do it manually, and I recommend somebody else doing it on you, because checking your heart rate raises your heart rate a little bit. So, but you want to get into like a dark room. You want to lay perfectly still for a good, don't do it immediately after a run, but lay down and be just, almost drowsy, and check your heart rate. That'll give you an idea of what your resting heart rate is. Then check your sleep. If you find out that you're waking up a lot, you're not sleeping very well, or if you just want to overall improve your sleep, well, let's lower your resting heart rate. And of course, how do you do that? Well, a couple of ways to do that. This is not first, but I'll throw one out there. Check your caffeine intake. Don't fool yourself by saying, I can drink 4 cups of coffee and go right to bed. Caffeine doesn't bother me. Actually, it does. You have what's called a high tolerance for caffeine, and your body has already made adjustments for that, and your resting heart rate is higher because you have that caffeine in your system, even if you don't feel it. That means your body has made that pretty much an everyday thing now. It doesn't treat it as a stimulant because you just have a higher resting heart rate. If you back off the caffeine, then your heart rate will actually, your resting heart rate will go down. Sugars will do this to you also, especially having sugar late in the day, heavy amounts of sugar. Sugar is a stimulant. It'll do the same thing. Believe it or not, alcohol, and here I am listening to all this stuff that you don't want to hear, but alcohol can have the same effect because it is a diuretic and gets rid of water. Therefore, that does increase your blood pressure a bit. It also can increase heart rate. So what I recommend there is if you are going to have some drinks or whatever, make sure you're balancing it out with some water. But the best way and easiest way to lower your resting heart rate is, of course, exercise. Now, you can do this through cardiovascular exercise. You can do this. The best way to do it rapidly is high-intensity interval training. That's going to raise your heart rate up. It's going to burn a lot of calories. It does take a lot of effort. It's usually done on short bursts, but it's going to do what I call stretch the band. You're going to run that heart rate up, bring it down, run it up, bring it down. You're going to adapt a lower resting heart rate a lot faster. By lowering your body fat, getting in better shape, of course your resting heart rate is going to go down, because since the fat content is going down, your heart's not having to pump so hard and so fast in order to get the blood to go through a more efficient system. It's pumping a lot less. When it's in a lower efficient system like heavy fat, then it's going to be really hard for it to pump through. So easy ways to lower your resting heart rate, which will, of course, improve your sleep and improve your energy level and your overall recovery. Hey, listen, I really appreciate the question coming in. And again, if you have any questions dealing with this topic or any others, or have any questions about health, fitness, wellness, please contact us 251-278-3343. Again, that's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com, and reach me at the website personaledgefitness.com, and, of course, our Facebook page. Lowering that resting heart rate, therefore improving your entire well-being. One more way we like to help you reach your level of wellness.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 251-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.